Okay, welcome back. This is the continuation of what we were doing in the first part. The first part we installed the LAMP stack plus the phpMyAdmin. Now we're in the part 2 of this series of videos, and what we're going to do is install WordPress. So first thing that we have to do is as a matter of course, go to the wordpress.org site, somehow find the downloads page and download the latest version of WordPress. There are two ways of downloading it. One is in the zip format and the other one is in the tar.gz format. I selected the zip format. That's my own preference. And I did it already. It didn't take too long. My Chromium browser is set to save downloaded files in the downloads location. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to the root folder for Apache, which we know it's var www.html. In there we're going to create a subfolder. We're going to say sudo make directory, and we're going to make a subfolder called wp01. Folder has been created, and at this point it belongs to the root user. We will be changing that in due course, but for the time being let's keep it as root. Actually no, we need to change it right away. We're going to change the ownership of that folder to the active user, which in this case is Victor. So we're going to say sudo change ownership recursively, give it to Victor of the group Victor, and to the folder called wp01. There you are. So now the folder belongs to Victor. We did that because we are going to unzip the file, and the unzipping of the file of the WordPress zip file is not going to work properly if the folder belongs to root. Now that it belongs to Victor, it's going to proceed correctly. To proceed, we're going to go to the downloads folder. We're going to unzip this file. We are going to use following directory as target, and the following directory is var www.html wp01. Good. That was done quite fast. Let's verify that it actually did it correctly. That's great. Very convenient. He created the unzipping created a folder called WordPress. belongs to Victor, and the folder is under the folder called WP01. Good. Now, inside this folder WordPress, we find a file that is called, what is this? Config sample. Oh, there you are. WP config sample PHP. This one we are going to make a copy of it and just call it WP config. Good. Now we are going to edit this one. Oh, actually, no. Before I do that, we have to create the database. We have to go into MySQL and create the database for WordPress. So, to get inside MySQL, you say MySQL, login as user root, and ask for a password. The password is the one that we wrote down, MySQL root password. That is a very simple password. It should be more complex if you want to improve the security, but for me it's simple enough. Now, as you can see, we are inside MySQL. It's a command prompt for MySQL, and inside there we are going to say create database WP01. For convenience, we are choosing the same name as a folder, but it doesn't have to be. It's just for convenience. So we say that. Oh, sorry, I have to put a colon after that. Here. Now we create a user inside that database. So we say create user. phpMyAdmin. We're going to set a password for that user. Set password for WP01admin equal password again. Something very simple and silly, but for our purposes it's fine. It could be more complex if you want to make it more secure. Good. Now we are going to grant privileges to this user, and we're going to grant all the privileges because he's an administrator. Good. We are going to enact those privileges, and we are done with MySQL, so we're going to exit. We're back into the Linux prompt, and now we are going to edit that file, the one that we were talking about, the wp-config php. Notice that the file belongs to Victor, and Victor is the acting user at this point, so I don't need to say sudo. I can just go ahead and say vim wp-config.php, insert to start editing, and in here we have to look for these 3 lines: db name, db user, db password. And as you can guess, what we are going to enter are the names of the database user and password that we just created. So the database is wp01, the user is wp01admin, and the password is wp01 password. Very good. Good enough. Escape, colon, write and quit. Good. And so now let's go back to the root folder here. As you remember, we set the folder wp01 to belong to Victor, so we can unzip and modify certain files. But now we have to change ownership to its final owner, which is going to be sudo change ownership recursively, and give it to the Apache user. wp01 belongs to the Apache user at this point. So now we are ready to start installing WordPress. To do that, all we have to do is say, go to the Apache root, go to the folder we just created, and go into the WordPress folder, which contains the wp-config.php. So just by invoking that, the whole installation process is going to start up. We're going to select English, and we're going to set a title for our WordPress site. What I do is just enter the machine name, it's Linux, and the first instance of WordPress. This is the administrator username, not to be confused with the one that we just created inside MySQL. It could be different, but in this case the names are very similar, so I'm going to say admin, and a very simple password as well, so I can remember it. Admin password. Very weak, I know. Email. I can select anything here, but I can say we can start the installation. That was very fast. WordPress is awesome in that respect. You can try it. Good. So as you can see, WordPress has been correctly installed. It's the most up-to-date version. And this is the way that it looks. And the way to look into the site is by going to localhost wp01 WordPress. That means that in the future, if we follow the same steps, we could create a subfolder called wp02, wp03, and so on. We can create different databases for each one of these instances of WordPress, and we will be able to basically run concurrent versions of WordPress. That is great for test and developing purposes, because you can set different configurations and install different plugins. That concludes part 2, and I'll see you on part 3.